So today I'm going to talk about the topic of sacrifice. I've talked about this topic a few times over the past few years. Hopefully I'll give you a new perspective and make your life a little easier. How many of you feel like life is painful sometimes? You know, it is. There's no question about it. I know in my own life, I feel like I've made a lot of sacrifices in my life. Now, I'm not saying that to say, oh, Chuck's a great guy because he's made lots of sacrifices. Here's where my problem comes in. I sacrifice, I do the right thing, but then I complain. Anybody else like that in here? And you're willing to raise your hand? There was just a few people that were super honest. And there's an honesty reward coming to you from heaven right now for having the courage to do that. People are all over the spectrum on sacrifice. And there are lots of reasons why we don't sacrifice. It is very easy to be selfish. Depends on how you were raised. Maybe you didn't have a lot growing up, and now you finally have made your own way in this world, and you have something, and it's hard to let go. Some people, they get afraid. Well, if I sacrifice, if I give away some of what I have, then maybe it doesn't come back. Maybe I give it all away and there's nothing left. You know, you hear about those biblical principles. Fear is probably the number one reason people don't tithe, for example, because of a scarcity mindset that thinks if I give away, nothing comes back and I'll never be able to do it again. And I'm just going to basically be giving away something that I could have. But when I read the Bible from cover to cover, I see that sacrifice is at the center of this thing we call Christianity. It's at the center. It is a sacrifice that is at the center of this religion. Are you with me right now? It is a sacrifice that's at the center of this religion. It is a cross with God on that cross, dying for the sins of the world, taking the full penalty of sin, and offering to you all of these free things, this salvation that he's given to us. And, you know, sometimes I feel, maybe you feel like this, sometimes I wish I'd been a little more selfish in my life. And somebody goes, oh my God, I know you pretty well, Chuck. I think you are selfish. I don't know. Maybe that's your perception. But I know this. There are not too many days in my life I wake up and just do what I want to do. People all the time ask me, hey, you want to go do this? You want to go do that? I can't. I have lots of responsibilities. Being a father comes with responsibilities. Being a husband comes with responsibilities. Does anybody relate with this? Somebody's like, my God, I'm a slave. You know, I want to help you today because I know the pressure. Some people are new moms, new dads in this building, and you're going, my God, can I take the kid back? Can I push it back and make it go backwards beyond conception the other direction and wait a few years? You had no idea what you were getting into. Some days you wake up and you don't have to say it out loud. I won't ask you to raise your hands, but there are days as a parent that you go, I just don't want to be a parent. Emily and I started at 17 and 19, and all of our friends are out partying, and we chose to oh man, we got to work hard. Everything shifted inside of us. And some people don't realize that we made lots of changes in our lives during that time for our kids. Come on, right? Now, when Emily got pregnant, and a lot of people don't realize this, but Emily was she was a bigger drug addict than me. I leaned towards alcohol. I would smoke weed. If I was at a party, you know, whatever was there, I wasn't afraid. But she was really probably very addicted to hard drugs, and she had a really hard circle that she was around. When she got pregnant with Corey, I watched Emily. Both of us were smokers. I know you can't picture this, right? I watched Emily quit everything. Smoking, drinking, drugs, no rehab program. She stopped it cold turkey the day she found out she was pregnant with Corey. I mean, she laid her life down, the life that she had for her son. Now, the reward was great. Both of us have been drug-free for so many years now. If I were to do drugs, I would come down off of the God high that I've been on for 28 years or so, or however long it's been. Anybody else can relate? So he goes, man, you gotta loosen up, man. You don't understand that this relationship I have with God is greater than any substance I've ever put in my body. That's why I don't want to go. I remember a guy saying one time, I don't want to get too close to the edge and fall over into something that I've been delivered from, you know. And so sacrifice is a beautiful thing, you know. I could give lots of examples. Jesse and Ian just sacrificed. They just got married, and they went to live with our son, another missionary, and spent 6 months of their lives in another country. And somebody could watch their Instagram and go, yeah, but they're living the dream. Oh, you don't know what it's like down there. You know, and I'm being serious. I got back to America, and I ate McDonald's. I mean, now Emily loves missionary. She loves food in other countries. And I think that's where Corey gets it from. They kind of prefer food from other countries. But Jesse and Ian, I don't have my glasses on. Are they still in here? Yeah, am I telling the truth? The food in Peru is, please, Peruvians, I'm not coming down on you guys. I love you. God bless you. Buenas. But what I'm saying is, it's all kind of bland. I don't like the ketchup. I don't like the ají sauce that Emily loves. Like, they're loving the papa fritas. I'm not feeling it. There's something about the oil they cook those things in. It's not like French fries from McDonald's. There's something about it, you know. And so we always joke around. We're like, oh, I can't wait. What is the first thing you're dreaming about when you get back into the States? Buffalo Wild Wings. And like you feel stuff bursting in the sides of your jaw because you're literally drooling up like you're thinking of eating something sour because of the flavors we have here in America. We stayed in a hostel when we were there. Emily and I were by far the oldest people in that hostel. We were like hippie parents in there. And hostel living is terrifying. I wish I could tell you some of the stuff we experienced this last week. You wouldn't believe it. And you would be like, wow, I bet there's more to that story. I'm just saying the stuff they have to do is unbelievable while not compromising their faith, which is an amazing thing to me when you put yourself in the middle of the most temptation and you stand strong for Christ. You know, I admire them. And sacrifice is beautiful. I believe that sacrifice is an evidence of God because I don't believe that it's necessarily natural. It goes against nature. Selfish is nature. Having what you want, looking out for you is nature. It's miraculous or supernatural to sacrifice. So when you see someone sacrificing, you can go, man, that's so glorious. It's so otherworldly. It's different. And you can see it every day in Christians and in many non-Christians laying down their lives, these acts of love that people are doing to be selfless for others. And why do some people give so much to others and then others don't? And you think about sacrifice, you ask yourself, am I sacrificial? Do I sacrifice enough? Should I sacrifice more? Are you at least intrigued on the topic and glad you came to church today? Say yes. Yeah, so let's talk about it. Do you remember Zacchaeus? Zacchaeus was a wee little man was he. He climbed up in a sycamore tree, the Lord he wanted to see. The Lord said, Zacchaeus, you come down from there. I'm coming to your house today. I'm coming to your house today. You know the song, right? So the Lord comes to Zacchaeus' house. Zacchaeus was a wealthy man, a tax collector. The people were really mad because these tax collectors had the freedom to actually collect more than what they were supposed to, and they would take from the people, and so people hated tax collectors. They stole from the people. While Jesus is there sitting with Zacchaeus, just showing him love, which is the method of ministry that Corey, Jesse, Ian have been doing in Peru, preaching a lot without words, but preaching with love in such a way that it's so outlandish that people notice it as different and they lean into it and search for God in it. And so this guy looks at Jesus and he goes, I'll tell you what, half of everything I have, I'm going to pay back. You know, he just starts talking about giving away, basically emptying out all of his storehouse. You know what Jesus said? Jesus said this, I tell you the truth, salvation has come to this house today. The guy didn't pray the sinner's prayer. He changed the way he was living. He changed the way he was living. He went from selfish to sacrificial, and Jesus said, that is salvation. There's evidence of a salvation shift in this man's life, right? And so the Bible says in John 15, this is King James, this is my commandment that you love one another. So look at somebody next to you and say, love one another. Say this, love one another as God has loved you. It says, greater love has no man than this. No, I'm just me now. I love it. You guys are in a trance right now. Come back. So, that a man, greater love has no other than this, that a man lay his life down for his friends. Okay? So, in other words, God seems to measure love in degrees. And he says the highest degree of love is when you lay your life down for someone. That's the highest degree of love. And that's the degree of love that saved your soul. For God so loved the world, he gave his only son, his only begotten son, that whoever believes in him will not perish but has everlasting life. It's the greatest level of love. Sacrifice is the greatest level of love. In other words, don't just say you love. Love is something that cannot be described with words. It must be seen in actions. And the gospel calls on us to demonstrate a love for this world that is shown in actions. And the Bible has many verses on this, by the way. Don't just say you love someone and then they knock on your door and say, help me out, and you go, be warmed and filled. If it's in your ability to help, then the Bible says you have to help. And that's the kind of love that demonstrates that you're a child of God. Okay, so one of the teachers of, this is in Mark chapter 12, one of the teachers of the religious law was standing there listening to the debate, and he asked, of all the commands, which is most important? Jesus' probably the most important command is this. You must love the Lord your God with all your heart, soul, and mind, and all your strength. The second is equally important. Love your neighbor as yourself. No other commandment is greater than these. So in other words, as believers of Jesus, how you express love to others matters to God. He says it's a second on a list of two matters that are equally important. In other words, if you say you love God, but don't love people that you see, the Bible says there's a problem with that. See, you can't do one without the other. If you love God, then you'll love people. And how you love people shows how you love God. And Jesus even said, when you visited them in prison, and when you visited them in the hospitals, and when you did for them, you were doing for me. He says, when you give even a cup of water in my name, you've done it unto me. And so we have to get this idea is that when we care about other people, in essence, we're caring for God. I had this guy that I failed real big with in Peru, and I haven't even had a chance to debrief with the team. But there was this one guy that I gave money to on the first night that we were there, and then he came to me on the second night with the same scam and forgot that he had scammed me the night before. And so I said to him rudely, I said, I gave you money last night. It was really arrogant. Not my style, but the guy was pestering me like a gnat. You know, he's just buzzing around me. I was like, get off of me, man. Just get off of me. I don't know what happened. I became selfish, self-focused. I started feeling superior to him because that's what we do to justify not helping people. We feel like we're in a better class, and they're just pestering, right? Have you ever been there? Yeah. And when I said that, it broke him. And now I'm looking back. I didn't see any of it at the time. I actually feel very bad about it because I did break him back. He's like, oh yeah. Oh, yeah, that was God going, don't do that again. I'm just kidding. I'm kidding. But that was just me being clumsy. But here's what happens. You know, he went away. But then the rest of the trip, I kept running into this guy all over the place. And he was smiling, and he was like, oh, man, when are you leaving the country? And then he came up to me the last day, and he was like, you leaving? I was like, yeah, leaving tomorrow. Do you have some last money for me, you know? And I didn't give him anything. So I'm telling you that because I just want you to admit that you're selfish sometimes too. And I'm looking back and I'm thinking, what if he was Jesus? And he was the guy that I was sent to Peru to reach on this last trip. What if he was the guy, but he kind of bothered me in his style in the beginning, and it turned me off, and I pushed him away, and I made no more room in my heart for him. See, and we all do that on different levels. And he says, if you really want to be right with God, you need to love God, and then you need to love your neighbor as yourself. And some people believe that humanitarian work isn't spiritual like preaching is. But the Jesus-loving people is the second highest duty. It's actually the first highest on a list of 2 items that are equally important, right? And, you know, I thought about, I found these notes in one of my old messages. I guess this must have been right after Corey went on to the mission field. I'll never forget the day that Corey said he wanted to be a missionary. So, you know, Corey's story is he had this really bad breakup. He was in a really tough time in life. And I said, hey, I'm going to Peru. You want to go with me? Yeah, sure, I'll go. We met with the mayor. It was in Cusco. It was a great thing. We're going to do this big open-air meeting in the center square there in Plaza. De Armas. And the trip was great. And Corey said, can we rent motorcycles and go way up into the mountains? There are villages up there. Sure, let's do it. Rented motorcycles. Got this guy who won the Baja 500 a few times. His name is Scott Anglin. He's a legend. Took us on his motorcycles. We went way up in these villages. We're like, whoa, there are people up here. This is unbelievable. And then Corey, during that time, has this big epiphany. This is what I want to do with my life. I want to go to people who have never heard about Jesus. I want to just show Jesus to them. I want to play a super long game. I don't want to go in there blazing with sermons, but I just want to show the love of God but I remember when he said that, I was like, yes, my son has a call from God. This is amazing. And then 5 minutes later, I was like, no. And I realized, wow, you raise your kids all their lives. You're going to change the world. You're going to do this. You're going to do that. All of a sudden, they go, I want to go change the world. And you go, oh, no. You know, it's tough having a child in a third world country. You go, well, you can still call them. Yeah, but 9 FaceTimes out of 10 end up getting dropped, and we can never carry on our conversation. It's paused, it's frozen up. You know how hard that is to try to talk to your kids with that kind of static, with that kind of break of communication? It's so incredibly painful. When we left this last time, Emily hates this, but like I think she was crying in the back seat. I've only seen her cry like 4 times in her whole entire life. I was like, you're being awful silent. She goes, I don't know, this one's getting me for some reason. Because he's in Lima now, and then Jesse and Ian left. Not that you guys left him. But he's kind of alone right now. You know, it's different than when he was in Cusco. And it was just, it was messing with us, man. We were, both of us going down the road, this guy who was driving us was like, I got some freaks in the car right now. You know. And so, you know, we raised him to be courageous, but then when he goes to be courageous, you say to yourself, I don't know if I want to sacrifice my kids. I don't know if I want to give them away. And I think about the things that God asks of us. And I think about things like this, how hard it is to give $50 in an offering, say to a missionary, but how easy it is to leave and go spend $50 at Sheetz right after that service. Come on, man, I'm not trying to beat us up. I'm just saying, is this real? Isn't it real, man? I mean, no joke. You know you've spent $50 at Sheetz before. $50. How do you spend $50 at Sheetz? Oh, I've seen you guys around 11 o'clock at night. Just like 15 combos and chips and all this stuff. And it's like, that'll be $47. No problem. But I don't know about that missionary. I don't know what they're doing. I don't know them real well. I don't know. I'll pray about it. We never pray about vacations. We never pray. We seldom pray about big purchases. But man, we got to pray like crazy before we're going to give to a building fund or, come on, right? Oh man, somebody's like, I think Chuck's angry right now. No, I'm not angry, man. I talked about this topic of sacrifice with Corey. When we were there, we had a Bible study there. All of us had a Bible study. And I remember he said something. He said, Dad, you have to find a different approach when you're talking to people about stepping up and giving a part of their lives to God. He said, you have to see it through their eyes. He said, there are reasons that people don't step up. One, they've heard it over and over and over, and they've become numb to it, so it's no longer affecting them. Or two, they're afraid. They're living in some kind of fear. And he said, it's actually hurting them more than it hurts God's kingdom It's hurting them. And so you have to find a way to lead people to have courage to take baby steps and have courage to step out and to sacrifice parts of their lives. Because for him, and Jesse and Ian said it up here this morning, really it is no sacrifice. When you get good at sacrificing, you'll realize that every time you give a piece of yourself away, something more comes back to you. Is that true? It's the law of the universe that God designed here. When you give a piece away, you get more back. So if you could shift over for long enough and stay in a place of sacrifice for long enough, you will start to realize it's a greater way to live than to hoard. The Bible even says in Proverbs that if you hoard, surely it's the easiest way to lose everything. But if you water others, you will be watered back yourself. So, Kristen said something years ago. She said, I bought a vacuum cleaner one time. Kristen Vi, my assistant. She said, I bought a vacuum cleaner one time that sucked dirt into a jug of water for $1,100. Just because the woman was funny and upbeat and she believed in that machine. We need her to come take our offerings. Most of all, she didn't take no for an answer. We need her to come take our offerings. Just kidding. She was talking about how, she was drilling home this point, the stuff that how quickly we'll consume on ourselves and how hard it is for us to give it away. Not just money, time, labor. How many of you don't like to sweat? Raise your hand. Okay, thanks for being honest there. I don't mind sweating, but I kind of hate it. It's an inconvenience to me. I think I have a little bit of OCD, maybe a lot. I don't know. I just like everything to be organized. The more in order my life is, the more my mind rests. Chaos freaks me out. I don't know why I raised a whole family of hippies. Like they torture me every day of my life. I picture my life in another life. I have Baroque music playing in my house. And it's just, everything is completely organized. Everyone takes their shoes off when they walk into the house. And there's a person in there that washes the feet so that not one piece of dust goes anywhere throughout the house. All the furniture is white. Come on, you guys. But what I'm getting at is, what am I getting at? What was I saying there? I just got so passionate there for a minute. Huh? Sweat. Just sweats it. I'm like, oh man, I'm ruined. I have to get into sweat mode when I'm working. Be like, I'm sweating. I'm a man. I'm sweating. Same thing with rain. It rains and it's like, my hair. I'm melting. Now my clothes are wet. They're sticking to me. It's just inconvenience, right? And I just think that sacrificing is inconvenient sometimes, and it's painful at other times. And there are some people in this world who have sacrificed so much, but yet it seems today that most of the world is content to live off of the uncommon sacrifices of a few. In every community group, in every school, and there's always somebody contributing disproportionately more than everyone else in the circle. And I think to myself, whatever circles you're in, what if everyone could come up to that disproportionate level of sacrifice? What could be done if the Christian church became far more sacrificial in the order of our Savior? Come on, guys, right? And so today's message is about finding a higher purpose through sacrifice, or a higher meaning through sacrifice. And so I believe that we can do it better. Do you believe we can do it better? So we can do better with sacrifice. And I think the way that I'm going to try to accomplish that today, the way God's going to try to accomplish that is, I want us to notice what some people do. Do is a key word, action. What some people do for love. Do you love people? Say yes. Somebody special? Say yes. A mom, a dad, kids, husband, wife, girlfriend, boyfriend. You guys with me right now, right? So we all love people. And I guess you could sacrifice for yourself, which I don't know what that would be. Sacrifice for self equals, I don't know. But sacrifice usually involves another person, you know? And we can do it better. I think we can do it a lot better, and I think it would make us better. Honestly, I've never felt better about myself than when I'm living right when it comes to sacrifice. I don't feel good about myself when I'm selfish. Do you? And it happens. There are times when I'm just like, ew, man, I don't like, all I'm doing is complaining. I can tell everyone around me sees it, and they're just like, ew, I don't want to hang out with him right now. You know? People are more lovable when they got this right. Sacrifice. How many of you want to get it right? Okay, so write these down. The first action that some people do for love is they endure the pain of sacrifice. They endure pain with grace. The key there is grace, with grace, right? So a sacrifice is defined as the act of giving up something that you want, especially in order to get or do something else, or to help someone else. So it's giving up something I want so that I can do something for someone else. Remember Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane? Father, my friend Joel Bacher, the worship leader for Angelus Temple, he's there right now, and he was at the Garden of Gethsemane, and I sent him a post. I was like, pray. So you don't get that. In the Garden of Gethsemane, Jesus prayed there on the rock, and the prayer he prayed was a prayer of consecration, where he said, Father, I really would prefer not to have to drink this cup. Nevertheless, not my will, but yours be done. You would not even be born again right now if Jesus hadn't given up his will, given up what he had preferred so that he could give something to you, right? So look at this. Mother Teresa said this, a sacrifice to be real must hurt, must cost, must hurt, and must empty ourselves. Say that with me. Must cost, must hurt, and must empty ourselves. It is not a sacrifice if it doesn't cost you something. If you're not giving up something you want to keep, it's not a sacrifice. So the idea, the real background for this idea would be when David was leading Israel, Israel fell under a curse for living wrong. And the prophet Gad came to David and said, David, if you'll make a sacrifice to the Lord, then the plague will be stopped. So David goes, he's not in his home country. It says, I'm going to read some of this to you. I have a few verses before the ones that'll be up on the screen. Gad said to David, go up, build an altar to the Lord. So David went up as the Lord commanded him. The leader of that territory said, why have you come, my lord the king? David replied, I've come to buy your threshing floor to build an altar to the Lord so that he will stop the plague. This guy says, so he basically says, I want to buy land, I want to build an altar there, and I want to buy animals so that we can do a sacrifice to the Lord. And of course, we don't do that these days because Jesus is that sacrifice. Every time you see sacrifice in the Old Testament, that's Jesus once for all, which is so unbelievable, right? So it goes like this. It goes, he says, take it, my Lord, and use it as you wish. David said, he says, here are oxen for the burnt offering, and you can use the threshing boards and the ox yokes for wood and build the fire on the altar. I will give it all to you, majesty, and may the Lord your God accept your sacrifice. Look what David says. But the king replied, no, I insist on buying it, for I will not present burnt offerings to the Lord my God that have cost me nothing. So David paid him 50 pieces of silver for the threshing floor and the oxen. He built an altar there. He made the sacrifices, and the Lord answered his prayer for the land, and the plagues on Israel was stopped. David said, I will not offer the Lord something that doesn't cost me. When you come in to sing songs to the Lord, for example, it costs you your pride to be expressive to God in the middle of a bunch of people, you know. Somebody goes, well, that's not really a sacrifice. Well, we think of it like that. I'll bring the sacrifice of praise. You're taking your swagger and you're giving it away to God. You're looking like a fool, in essence, to lift your hands to an invisible God. You're clapping, you're shouting, you're singing words to him. You're giving some of yourself to him, right? And we do this in the way that we live. Sacrifice should cost us something. We're giving away something that we could have for someone else. We're giving away our energy. We're giving away our time. We're giving away the life we would want, maybe, for the life that God has for us. And what I've always found is that if you pursue the life that God wants for you, it is always better than the one you wanted for yourself. Come on, guys. Pursue the life that God has for you. It will always be better than the one you want for yourself. Pursue the action God has for you. It will always be better than the action you wanted to take for yourself. And so, how are you going to save the world if you're not willing to give up something you want to keep? Time, possessions, comfort, personal space, etc. I was talking about Jesse and Ian. I can't imagine a brand new marriage and they're living so close, and I'm thinking to myself, this is a challenge. I don't know how you guys didn't hurt each other. Being that close all that time. I think one of the biggest testimonies is that you can live with somebody for 6 months and still respect them. Come on, guys, right? I was like, wow, Jesse, what do you think of Corey? Oh, he's great. Still you think that? Yeah, he's great. Wow, you're a good person. I'm kidding Corey because he's watching online right now. But there's a sacrifice for a new marriage to be living like that when they could be back here. They pull up Instagram and they see me drinking a cortado at Farmhouse Coffee, and I'm going, this is amazing, best cortado of my life. And they're down there drinking. I mean, I gave Ian craft coffee when I was down there, which I brought my blender. I was going to do coffee for all the people in the hostel. I was like, I'll use it as a ministry. It's going to be great. Plug my blender in, click. It died. I forgot to use the adapter, broke my grinder. I was like, no, that just happened. Ian was like, we could take it apart. I was like, Ian, it's gone. It's dead. I understand electricity. It's done. It's over. There's not even a screw in this casing. It's over. It's done. Just throw it out. He's like, no, man, we can do something with this. We can surf it down a cobblestone road or something. But Ian comes down there with this nasty hostile coffee, and he's like, this isn't too bad. I smelled it. I wouldn't even take a sip. I smelled it. I was like, no way, man. I can't do it. That's worse than the tap water. I can't do it. I give Ian really good coffee. He drinks it. He goes, I don't know, man. I've been out of the country too long. This doesn't taste good. I was like, dude, you have literally given up your life for Jesus. Your life. Man, I was like, I can't be a missionary. I just can't have this happen to me. Come on, guys, right? I'm just being funny. So some people endure the pain of sacrifice, and then other people with grace, and then other people are just, I showed this video a couple years ago, but I just think it's funny. I want to show it to you again. Check it out.
What? Well, you can't do this to me. You know how much I sacrificed? You know how much I sacrificed? How much I sacrificed? You know how much I sacrificed? You know how much I sacrificed?
Yup. How many of you have said that to your kids before? Come on. Literally when I said that, you're like, wow, I think I literally said those exact words. Do you know how much I break my back for this family? Which, by the way, never confess that you're breaking your back. But, if you're sacrificing and you're complaining, it kind of takes it away. It takes away the goodness of that act, right? And so what some people do for love is that they endure pain with grace. They endure the pain. There is pain, but they do it with grace. What kind of grace are we talking about? Well, I believe that Jesus endured. Remember the Bible says that Jesus was on the cross, and it says, for the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross. Guys, are you still with me right now? It's only about 10 after 11. I'll probably be finished by 11:30. I want to go watch the Black Panther today, so I'm going to be fast on this. Okay, so look. So, Dean, I love you. I'm going to talk about you in a minute. Jesus, can you imagine if Jesus was like me on the cross? You people have no idea what I'm doing for you right now. You don't appreciate it. Come on, guys, right? You don't deserve this. Right? I'd be like, this hurts. The Bible says, For the joy that was set before him, he endured the cross. Somebody goes, how could someone go through that with joy inside? Because that's what some people do for love. When you're laying your life down, consider that. When you're laying your life down for the people you love, are you doing it with God's grace? Because grace is available if we search for it. I believe there is a grace from God for every sacrifice you'll ever make in life. In other words, it's like, and I kind of used this analogy a few weeks ago, it's like power steering versus not having power steering. It's God giving you the ability to do what he's asked you to do so that you do it with his power, not your own. So it's really like no sacrifice. If you lean into the power that God has and you approach a sacrifice with the right attitude, it will not be as painful as it would be if you were to approach it with the wrong attitude. So here's the deal. You can go through life and be a great person and do it with a bad attitude and a lot of complaining, or you can lean into God and you can get his grace. I know in my own life, when I start to complain, I realize I'm stepping out of grace and I'm stepping into my own strength. And then you just can't live God's plan for your life in your own strength. You got to get back in grace. I think there's something really bad about somebody answering the call of God on their life, whatever that might be, secular or ministry or whatever. There's something really bad when you say, God, I'm going to do whatever you want, and then you try to do that in your own strength. I cannot be a pastor in my own strength. You cannot run that company in your own strength. Are you relying on God to give you the strength to do what you've committed to do? How many of you would like to get some grace from God right now for your life? How many of you feel tired and you're like, Chuck, if you could wave a wand over me right now and just cure me? How many of you want that? Here it is. It's just this simple. Do you want God's help for your life right now? Okay, here it is. First of all, you have to believe that this grace is available. Do you believe? Okay, say, I believe. God has grace for me. Okay, second thing, pray for it. So now what I want you to do is just ask God right now. Dear God, give me the grace to do what I've committed to do. Let's make it real simple. Give me grace to do this. Right? I believe it's available. Now you just prayed. Now the next thing you do is you confess that it's yours until the pain goes away. Oh, man. So watch this. Say this. New grace is flowing into my life right now. And all the pain of this sacrifice is going away, and joy is coming into my life. See, that's how you do it. You realize, man, I have just really lost this, and so, God, I'm going to get back into your grace. I'm going to get back into your strength. I'm going to be able to do this. So, Meatloaf, I would do anything for love, just not that, right? Or something like that. Okay, so there it is. Second thing is, the second action you need to take is, some people do for love, is they go beyond their limits. And when you talk about sacrifice, it's like this. Everyone has a limit. Everyone has a limit. Sacrifice shatters the limits. It's extravagant. Oh, man. But God demonstrated his love for us in this, that while we were sinners, Christ died for the ungodly. He died for us while we were sinners, not while we were good people. Jesus laid his life down for a bunch of broken, sinful, worthless, horrible humanity. He died for us when we had no value. That's what some people do for love. The second verse that pops into my head right now is that you have not been redeemed with corruptible things, such as gold and silver, but with the precious blood of God's own Son. God, when he was making the plan of salvation, he didn't buy mankind back with something cheap. He bought it back with the very best he had. And that is exactly what you do when you sacrifice. You go beyond your limits to give your best. Homeless man says, can I have a shirt? Sure, let's go to Goodwill and we'll get you one. Somebody goes, well, that's all they need. He's just going to lay on the street. I don't want to get him a J. Crew shirt and have him ruin it. What are you wearing? Wearing a J. Crew shirt? See, and you would argue that. You could argue that. Guy probably doesn't need a J. Crew shirt, and there's probably other shirts that are more robust for homeless living. Come on, can take it. Some fashion stuff doesn't last very long, you know? But we're willing to give people this really small portion. We're willing to give just the very biggest overflow of what we have. I've got so much here, I'm going to give this little teeny bit. Sacrifice is giving up something you want. It's something you want, not something you don't want. And I'm not saying you don't take all your clothes down and you give your clothes that you're not wearing. I'm not saying you don't go give those away. But I'm not sure this is something you don't want. Are we giving something we do want? Right? So everyone has a limit or a ceiling. They're willing to go so far and no further. Remember Abraham with Isaac? God says, I want you to bring and offer me your only son. Now, this is a wild Bible story that's very difficult for the modern person to understand. And by the way, God has made it very clear since that, all the way back in Genesis, that he does not want anyone ever to sacrifice a kid. Okay, you guys with me right now? So don't think you're reading the Bible one day and be like, son, you've been a little demon lately, and I think the Lord is telling me, I found this verse. Come on, guys. People who do stuff like that are crazy, cuckoo, out of their minds, right? But what I'm saying is that God says, I want you to. So Abraham takes his son up there. He's got the wood. The son says, where's the animal for the sacrifice? And he looks at his son and says, the Lord will provide the sacrifice. He raises his hand up to sacrifice his son, and the Lord says, don't do it, Abraham. Stop. Thank God Abraham heard, you know. And Abraham stops, and there's a ram in the thicket. And there's a whole message about the sacrifice of Jesus in this story. A whole illustration there. But he says this to him, do not hurt him in any way, for now I know that you truly fear God. You have not withheld from me even your son, your only son. It's at the place of withholding that that threshold line is going to determine how much of God you experience in your life. It's going to determine how natural versus supernatural you're going to live in your life. And you've got to challenge your limits and try to go beyond them to an uncomfortable place like what Corey was talking about. You've got to find a way to take a courageous baby step forward or a big step forward. How many of you would fear skydiving? You think you could never do it? Maybe you should sign up and do that this year. I mean, you've got to get to a point where you train yourself to do the stuff that you're scared of. And really, to be honest with you, is God asking us to do anything that's really harming our lives? You know, if God asked me to go preach in Pakistan, I'd be like, God, that's the last place I want to go preach. Send me anywhere, but I don't want to go somewhere where they're killing guys like me. You know? But if he says it, hopefully not, I will comply. And I confess that. My whole family knows that. It probably scares them crazy. But if God calls me to do anything with my life, I will do it. Hopefully. You feel that? Hopefully. You have to live a life that practices going beyond what's comfortable for you. Come on. That's what people do for love. And guess what? Your kids will never know how much you've sacrificed for them. Your spouses will never know how much you've sacrificed for them. More than likely, if you go big with your life, you'll never get applauded, man. You're just going to live your whole life, and you're going to feel like nobody gets it. And that has to be okay. Because then, the Bible says, when you do your acts not to be seen of people, you'll be rewarded when you get to heaven. Come on, guys. And so the idea with that is, my final point is that here's what some people do for love. They believe in a reward. They believe in a reward. They believe in a reward. So they endure pain with grace. They endure pain with grace. They endure pain with grace. They go beyond their limits. And the other thing they do, the other action they take is they believe in a reward. Somebody goes, well, believe is not an action. Yeah, faith is action. We're talking about an active belief. They believe in a reward. Now, how many of you would like to be rewarded by God? Raise your hand. For every sacrifice. How many of you would admit to me, theologically speaking, you struggle with that. And you probably, there's a doubt inside of you that's like, I don't know that God really wants to reward me for any sacrifices I've done in my life. Raise your hand if you struggle. Yeah. And probably a lot more hands should have went up. I'm telling you this. This is my belief. You don't have to necessarily grab this. It's mind-blowing that God will save you. You can be born again. He gives you His Holy Spirit. He gives you everything you need to live a godly life. And then, instead of rewarding Himself for that, He also gives you the reward. And the Bible is full of places. Matter of fact, Hebrews 11:6, we teach in Bible college, is the beginning of faith. The beginning, the first step. You know what it is? It's this verse. Anyone who believes in God, anyone who believes in Him must believe that it says, anyone must believe that He is and that He is a rewarder of those who diligently seek Him. The beginning of faith is to believe that God, by essence, is a rewarding God. If you won't receive that, you are blocking God from being able to really, truly move in your life. Somebody goes, I don't need anything in return. But what you don't understand is this is the way God works. He says, sacrifice, give up something you want for somebody else. And when you do that, you need to believe in a reward, because I want to reward you back, because I'm going to make you more abundant. Oh, man. Let me just grab this. 2 Corinthians chapter 9. Look at this verse here. 9 verse 6. Remember this, a farmer who plants only a few seeds will get a small crop, but the one who plants generously will get a generous crop. Each of you must make up in your mind how you should give. Do not give reluctantly or in response to pressure. God loves a person who gives cheerfully, and God will generously provide all you need. Who will provide what you need? God. Say this with me. God is my provider. Doesn't it feel good just saying that out loud? Say it again. God is my provider. So then it goes like this. For God loves a person who gives cheerfully. It says, then you will always have everything you need. Say this with me. I have always everything I need. But it doesn't end there. Look what else it says. And plenty left over to share with others. We teach in Bible college, that's the realm. So there's poverty, provision, and abundance. What you do with provision determines whether you go back down to poverty or go up to abundance. Abundance level is where God wants to take every person. And do not feel guilty because you live in a first world country. Feel responsible instead. God wants us, because of where we live, He wants us to operate in His plan so that we can sacrifice and give, lean into grace and do it with the right heart and push through the limits, and then the reward comes. Believe for that reward, and when the reward comes, we are even more generous. Say more generous. Do you think I'm stretching the Bible out of context here? I think the Bible is crystal clear here. It says, verse 10, for God is the one who gives seed to the farmer and bread to eat. It is the same. In the same way, He will give you many opportunities to do good and will produce a great harvest of generosity in you. So say this with me. God wants to bless me so that He can make me a greater blessing to others. How do I get that working in my life? You've got to have courage. Somebody goes, well, if God would just bless me, then I would get this thing started. God, can you give me a starting level? He has. It's never easy to start sacrificing your life. There are routines that have blocked you in. TV and hanging out and all the comforts. There are routines that we're blocked into. So somebody goes, well, I don't know how to get started. I'm paralyzed. Take something you want, something you're used to giving yourself. Give it away. And now you have started the river of abundance from operating in your life. Then what happens, by the law that God has set up, more comes back. There's a reward. Do you see why the reward is important? Because God doesn't want to leave you where He found you. He wants to make you more blessed and enriched so that you can go bigger with your life. How many of you would like to go bigger? Come on, say yes. So this action here, the reward far outweighs the sacrifice. I think about Dean Farrell. Dean, can you stand up real quick? Dean will be my closing story. Everybody say, hello, Dean. Hello, Dean. Say this with me. Hello, Dean. Hello, Looking mighty handsome today. Say this with me. We love beards. Okay, I love that. Did Emily say it? Dean Farrell, one of the most inspiring men in my whole life. I've known him for almost my entire, probably 27 years I've known you, Dean. 1 year into getting born again, I met your family. You guys moved here. Dean was a truck driver for all of his life. And I watched this man sacrifice and work for his family. I mean, you talk about provider. Mary, am I telling the truth? Provider. Now, I don't know what it's like. He just retired. And Mary's been in here fasting and praying and laying on the floor, wailing out, God, I'm going to give up my life. My husband's coming home. Okay. So they've been separated for many years, not separated because they were fighting, right? Word. Did you say word? It sounded like you said word, and it just didn't seem right. It was like word. That was awesome, man. That's what I heard. So I remember, Mary, about 7 years ago, Dean was getting like laid off or something like that. He was with Yellow Trucking or something, and they were like, you know, I forget what happened, but Dean was losing everything. And I remember I prophesied to you in a prayer meeting and said, you have nothing to be afraid of because you have been faithful to me. Your family's been faithful to me with your tithes and your offerings and your service and your sacrifice. And God says, I want you to believe me to take care of you during the season. Do you know you have a right to believe that God will reward you for living right, even though He's empowered you to do that? And has God taken care of you guys over the years? Oh, has God taken care of them? And now Dean's back here. And who knows, if anybody needs anything, Dean literally has nothing to do with his life all day long. He has all kinds of skills, and there's a sign-up sheet in the foyer if you want Dean to step into your life. You know, it's been nice watching families like the Farrell family that I've known for so many years. Watch them live right and watch them walk in God's plan. And they're not the only ones. This whole church is full of people, and I've watched how God is just taking care of you guys. And you need to believe that there is a reward. Say this with me, there is a reward. And it's on its way. How many of you feel like there should be a reward coming? You're not even going to raise your hands. Just let me rephrase. How many of you feel like, you know, you're trying your best, and you feel like, according to the Bible, what you read, there should be a blessing on the way? Could you be courageous enough to say, I feel like God likes me and loves me. I feel like blessings should be coming into my life. Raise your hand. Thank you. I definitely feel like that. Okay? I say it very boldly. In my life, there's a lot of things I've given away. I've already received so much back, and I don't want to be dumb to say I don't need anything else from the Lord. I want to say, God, I believe there's a lot more coming into my life because the potential He has for my life is bigger than where I am right now. And it's the same for you. What if you believe today? What if you simply leaning into this message and believed could open the windows of heaven and things would start to pour into your life that weren't pouring into your life before today? I don't want to become a congregation that's so naturally minded. We never pray for each other when we're sick. We never believe God to provide. So many churches are becoming like that these days. Is this a household of faith? Do we move mountains in this place? Do we get healed in this place? Do we give our problems to God and He moves the mountains, He does the miraculous? Do we have a God who's living, who's alive, raised from the dead, operating in our lives, can do anything and everything? Then let's step up and see that happen. It starts with us stepping into the realm of sacrifice. And so, Father, in Jesus' name, I pray over everyone in the church today. Somebody said one time, the Bible has 35,000 promises if you read it looking for promises. 35,000 promises. It's a book of promises. And I ask you right now, Lord, the modern church has so little emphasis on reward. Thank you. We open ourselves up to receive. But before that, we open ourselves up to give. And I pray for everyone in the room. We'd all pray this kind of in our hearts together, that just like Jesus in the Garden of Gethsemane, God, I want to take, I want to give, now I want to say this, God, I want to give away more of what I want. I want to give it up to others. I want to stop judging who's worthy of it and who's not worthy of it. And I just want to be a conduit that you can flow through, a conduit of blessings. Give me your heart, Jesus, for the hurting people in this world. Let me be responsible. I don't want to feel guilty because I live in such a wealthy country, but I do want to feel responsible because I live in such a wealthy country. And I ask you, Father, to just move in my life in new ways today. God, I admit to you, I have a limit. I only want to go so far. I cry when it gets too hard. I complain when it gets too hard. I hate that I'm like that sometimes. And so, God, I'm laying over the rock at Gethsemane like Jesus did, and I'm saying, Lord, I admit to you there are things I don't want to give up to follow you. But today, I ask you, not my will, but yours be done. I give up the best of me. Not what's left over. I give up the best of me for you. And I open myself up for that flow of abundance to come into my life. And God, I thank you that what will happen is you'll use me from here to here to here to here, upward and upward and upward and upward. And God, I thank you that the best is yet to come. In Jesus' name, I pray, Father, for people who are worn out. New grace is coming today, I'm telling you. It's coming. Do you want it today? It's coming. Over the internet, new grace is coming. All you have to do is believe for it, and it'll be right there. You should feel bad, but you'll feel joyful instead. Everyone else is complaining, but you can't find it in yourself to complain because all you can feel is the joy of giving up yourself for others. God, I thank you. I pray that this would translate into people laying down their lives to do service projects and volunteer in the church, and people to step up and become givers, for people to be a blessing at their workplace. Some people live their lives and they see someone coming, like that man in Peru. They see someone come begging. They see it as an inconvenience. They're bothered. They so quickly fall into a grumbling attitude that looks down on people and disqualifies them, an attitude that makes them feel superior to those people. But God, instead, I pray that we would be like Jesus and that we would bow low before an awesome God, sacrifice at the center of the universe and follow in the footsteps of Jesus, and that we would go bigger and that we would go harder for this world to show a radical, radical love. The church is full of abundance, and I pray, God, that the river of giving and receiving would start to flow like never before in people's lives. In Jesus' name, amen. Amen? Yes, that was fun.